I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say sort of, can you give us an example of, a particular sustainable product within your range? I know this is a tricky question.
She asked me to a little bit rehearse this one before I came to that. Of course, I have a name like.
Thank God.
But I would say, rather than talk specific, we have water savers when you come into the taps and so forth. We have today 60% of our range is from renewable materials or recyclable. 40% is product solutions that actually support a more sustainable lifestyle. And I think that one is a key element in how we are providing better added value in lifestyling. And then actually 30% today are people planet positive products, meaning that are actually renewable, recyclable, whatever today. So we have, I would say we are in a pretty strong position in that sense.
Excellent. Okay, Hanna, how has green consumerism changed the consumption of Spotify's products?
I mean, one could say really that Spotify's business model is all about green consumerism if we talk about the sharing economy. Going back to, just a couple of decades ago or the beginning of the century, most people, probably this audience as well, felt the need to own a music or a song of their favorite artist, either a record or a downloaded song, or either illegally or legally. But today, we see that most people have no issue whatsoever with sharing music through platforms such as Spotify, and that is something we see definitely also in the 200 plus markets where we are present. I think the only exception is probably my dad. He still gets physical records. I don't know where he gets them, but he still do. So that is definitely something that is the core of our business model, and we try to expand to even more markets. And having said that, of course, we have also generated emissions, and that is something we're targeting even more in terms of what we can do with our own platform to reduce that.
Artur, how is the consumption of Tetrapak's products changed in the wake of this green consumerism?
Well, it's quite changing. Consumers are more and more conscious that they can really take decisions to reduce the impact they have, and therefore we are responsible to deliver the most sustainable package we can. We are doing this not just going for the easy one, let's say, or talking about recycling, but also focusing on other areas of the package, which can be having renewable content, reducing the CO2 emissions, and other aspects of it.
Excellent. Last but not least in this round, Leyla, how has it changed the consumption of H&M's products?
Thank you. Our focus is building a circular ecosystem, which in turn contributes to our climate and biodiversity ambitions. In this ecosystem, we cover all parts of our business: the products, customer offers, supply chain, non-commercial goods such as packaging, the items we use in store interiors or offices or in distribution centers. In my heart, what key for us is to do this with a transparency in mind. So that we have started not only show what the product made, but also we launched a method to provide customers even more details. So that process takes time, and it has a lot of wider impact beyond ourselves as a company, but in the industry. On the other hand, we are seeing a great process to overcome technical challenges of recycling through investing and collaboration. It's a huge change, it's a huge demand from our customers. I think industry is having a great awareness towards that. So for me, the transparency is very much the key, the next step further.
Can I ask you to sort of elaborate on that? Because I know that you have sort of this process where you can see in which factory a product has been made. Could you give us a bit more color on that?
Good. We are one of the companies to disclose our supplier list in already 2013. Since then, we have been working internally with a lot of stakeholders to see how can we take that further to enable our customers to make more informed and better decisions. As a first step, like you said, we have added the factory information where the product is made for most of our product, which creating accountability and transparency. The next big question is that what are the impact of those products and how can we make those transparent and accessible to our customers? This is what we have been working for 10 years, almost with different stakeholders in the industry. And now, during last year, we launched our first products with such impact transparency based on Sustainable Apparel Coalition HIG Index. This is by far the most extensive suite of tools to assess impacts in apparel and footwear. We are now setting our plans to scale this up. Hopefully, when you purchase, you will also see what is your purchase contribution to climate, CO2 emissions, resource use, hopefully on biodiversity, including social indicators. We are hoping that more companies to join us on that, because this change from a technical perspective is a huge step as well. So our ambition is to offer equal terms to our customers to make the right decisions.
Right, and we've already sort of broached this subject a little bit, but the next question that I had on my list is sort of, how are you changing your business models to adapt to this green consumerism, or whatever you want to call it? Hanna, can I ask you to go first on that one?
Yeah, I mean, the first part is, as I mentioned before, we need to start to do a bit more research in terms of what are the actual emissions from audio streaming in our more and more digital lives. So that is something we're targeting. But Spotify's main impact on society will always be through the platform that we have. So that is something we're looking at now, how we really can use that to kind of create more awareness and more action around key societal challenges, such as climate change. So I think, I mean, you can get people interested in a topic with the facts, but you really win them over through storytelling. I think most of us have probably heard one story or experienced something that made us take more action in terms of those topics. So that is really what we want to focus around, storytelling, using the platform for kind of sharing the voices of the science and activists and others to a broader set of people. Just as a very concrete example of how important storytelling is, I think most of you probably remember that my dad still buys physical records, but you don't remember how many markets Spotify is present in. So that is a little bit what we want to do, tell those stories through the platform.
So any sort of concrete examples, or just put it this way, what do you listen to in sustainability storytelling on Spotify's platform?
I listen to too many podcasts. I'm always stressed about how many podcasts I listen to on a weekly basis. But what we have done, for example, as a very concrete one recently, is we created this Play Your Part hub. It was originally set up for the US election, because it's a mess in terms of getting registered to vote and so on, and it's very complicated, and it's getting more and more complicated. So we used our platform to share stories, inform others what they could do in terms of this, and they could actually also register to vote in the US election through the Spotify platform. So that is something we're using now. We did it for Earth Day as well, in terms of climate action, with curated podcasts, with scientists, but also activists and artists, because everyone has an artist that they listen to. And then also concrete actions that you can take linked to external web pages. So that is something we're doing now also for the COP, to see how we can create more engagement and reach a broader set of audiences. Maybe not always interested in climate from the beginning, but if we can reach them through other topics.
I feel this is a good opportunity to remind you, questions, interactivity. Any questions so far? No? Oh, yeah. Would you like to wait for the microphone? Just give us a, up here.
Thank you, the panel. Everyone, this question is more for Artur, Peter, and Leyla. Hanna, thank you. You talk about consumerism and how people are moving more into, and especially Leyla, talk about how to hold you accountable, you know, where they're made, how much carbon footprint, etc., etc. And I'm sure you're also moving into circularity, because I think that's the part that is missing in a lot. Is like the accountability doesn't just stop with the consumer. I mean, how are you planning towards that, and what changes are you seeing in behavior, especially in Scandinavian market? I know IKEA now is taking some of the beds and the sofas and bring them back, but as a whole, in all part of the value chain, how are you preparing for that? That goes very much to Tetrapak as well.
Shall we start with you, though, Leyla? Because question for three people. I think we will broach the subject of circularity a little bit later, but an excellent question. Leyla, might I throw you into this?
Sure. And thank you very much. It's a very good connection. I mean, being conscious about resources always been in our heart. What we do, how we do it. We have been driving a lot of force behind developing recycling technologies that can recycle the clothes, that can't be really used anymore into fabric. I can give an example of Loop Machine, which has been a pioneer in our innovation strategies, where you can throw your unused clothes from any brand and take out yarns which you can reuse in production. We are also running a lot of great initiatives all around the world. If I may give some examples, which is also connected to UK markets spontaneously. Our London-based brand Kekst launched a digital platform last year to buy and sell beloved Kekst products. We are offering repair and renew services in our H&M brand to take care concept. We are having a lot of initiatives that I can count quickly, but also those initiatives not only give us not only reducing the environmental impacts, but also heavily comes like very interesting business case to reduce dependencies on virgin resources, connecting back to loop again, how we approach towards circular business models. So for us, it's a journey, continues to look into what we can do better while doing driving a lot of initiatives around the world for get better of ourselves. I hope I could answer your question.
I think that was a great answer. Peter, do you want to go next?
I think I was just going to say, I think echo that, and I think do it right from the beginning. If you talk about the whole value chain, that you need to start with product development to have that awareness and not compromise there. Then it's a lot of things. You mentioned a take-back service, which is fact for us. We're looking at second-hand markets. We're looking at how we are educating more than anything else. So our responsibility is clear. It doesn't stop when we've been leaving the product, and our potential and possibility is still mass consumption with actually mass recycling in a way, you could say, right? And it's not an either or. We need to be able to do both, right, with the volume we are handling. So I think it's really high on the agenda in that sense.
Artur, I think perhaps your answer can be sort of baked into the question I was going to ask you, which is sort of how Tetra Pak's business model is changing due to this, because I know it does include circularity.
Well, I mean, as I was saying at the beginning, we really think that that the whole value chain is not just for packaging, and it's about the full, not talking just about recyclable, or if it's recyclable, but the whole value chain. And there we go again, about CO2 emissions, about renewable content, so going away from fossil-based materials into renewable materials, like sugarcane, for example, for plant-based materials. And we also think that we work together with recycling institutions and local authorities to increase the recycling rates, for example, too. So there is certain norms coming into the UK, for example, like EPR and DRS. They will be mandatory in 2023 and 2024, and that will automatically increase the recycling rates for carton, for example. So I think I touched base there a little bit.
Definitely.
I mean, it's very wide what you so really would need much more time to get deep into details.
I think I'm hearing the answer I wanted to hear. It's the whole value chain, and it's not just specific things.
I can just repeat what you said, which is that you heard the answer you wanted, and it's not just about products, but the whole value chain and circularity of that. I think that brings us quite nicely back to the question about how the business model is changing. Peter, anything you want to add to that?
I think it's one thing to make it clear. You can't compromise on anything because of sustainability when it comes to design, looks, affordability, or whatever in our case. Sustainability is an integral part of that, in our case, democratic design development. That's one aspect of it. Then it's the whole, if I take more towards the consumer, it is about the service offer that's developing quickly. Yeah? And we have take-back services. We are working recyclable hubs in our stores today. You can come in. We will upcycle. We're having second-hand markets online, and etc. And then another thing is that when it comes to transport the last mile, which is one of the kind of more challenging areas where the online growing, it is EV that needs to be there. And we launched that. We're going to launch that in Glasgow, coming up with the COP26. It is something we are committed to 2025. So it is, on your point, it is the totality. You can't let anything slip in between that. But then also the consumer side, I always come back to, if you walk in an IKEA store today or if you come into our website, we are sharing a lot of knowledge about how you can live a sustainable life. And I think this message of everyday practicalities or everyday life that makes a big difference is where we can play a part, in our case, working with a lot of home furnishing. Yeah? That's the way I would see it. And that's also the way we are developing the business and operating model, to be clear also.
Right. I hear innovation in there.
Yeah, and I can say, sorry, I go on here now.
Go ahead.
We have in our organization, you might think that my title is, CSO. Huh? You can think that's a gimmick a little bit, like marketing stuff or whatever you want to call it. But it's not. I think it's about engagement and leadership. So I take it extremely seriously that my title is CSO, to be crystal clear. On top, so we put that, and all the leadership in UK Island is actually CSO, to be clear. And then we have also, we put sustainability in our innovation group. So business development is running the sustainability agenda for us, which I think on the point of thinking new is crucial in order to invest, think newly, outside the box and so forth.
Yeah. Leyla, anything you want to add on innovation? I know we spoke about that before the panel.
I think also I touched base a little bit when I was answering question, but also, I mean, very aligned with IKEA, I must say. We are driving our own sustainable resource innovation lab, always looking into what are the new technologies we can bring in to move out from junior resource management. This could be anything from recycling to biomaterials to make sure that we are, while reducing our impact, we are also getting less independent to genuine materials. It needs to go hand in hand with different business models. So companies who wants to be there needs to run parallel leaps here. So it's very much related to taking a longer journey, a lot of learnings on the way, but also making sure that we are bringing movement in the market, like training ourselves first, what is next, involving our customers into that with sharing a lot of knowledge, bringing this in some fun and simple facts that people can adopt, remember, and use, and meanwhile lead the industry change. So these are very much for us what we are adopting in our agenda to continue to be innovative and entrepreneur in the area.
So Artur, we spoke about innovation too, and I think you covered that point a little bit, but we also spoke about sort of consumer education. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Let me catch up just at the beginning a little bit. I mean, Tetrapak has in this DNA sustainability since the beginning, 70 years ago. 70% of our material is origin of plant-based, so renewable content, and it's paperboard. And what we are doing is we're investing in a 2030 strategy over 100 million euros a year in developing the most sustainable package possible. And we're doing this again, looking at the full life cycle of the package. And then when it comes to connecting with the other question, I mean, we are doing also investments yearly to address to consumers. We're doing this through digital and social media. And what we're doing there mainly is for example, last year in UK, we launched exclusively here a Go Kart and Go Nature, and we copy paste in other countries. And it's a campaign addressed to our consumers for them to learn about what we're doing. So why are we doing this or why are we doing that? Because I think consumers have a lot of information, but they don't kind of land it. Is recycling important? Is renewability important? Is fossil-based important? So we're trying to educate them through these platforms. And we do this together also with other associations like Carbon Trust and Bon Sucro and FSC, also to give them more visibility and they can earn trust in what we're doing. So that's a little bit of that one.
Excellent. Hanna, any add-ons? We are talking about circular economy and innovation. I know Spotify is a very innovative company, apart from the content and the sort of, the thought about also becoming a fossil-free sort of actor in your space. Anything you want to add?
I think it's difficult for digital companies a bit in that space because I think here we've heard some amazing examples of what more physical products, how you are enabling your consumers to actually make more sustainable choices and so on. But the digital economy has for a large extent been kind of flowing under the radar a bit. So that is what we're tackling now together with partners. And I would say that is the key challenge now, to understand what we can kind of do on our end with the app and so on, what we can do in collaboration with device manufacturers, so the phones or computers or so you stream the music on. So that is, I think, is the key focus area now, what we can do in terms of that.
Excellent. Okay, so my final question to this panel, and do interrupt me if you want to from the audience, but I'm going to ask you, what are the key challenges in driving these changes that you've been describing to the audience? And any sort of key opportunities you want to highlight that comes with these challenges? Leyla, why don't you start this time?
Sure. I think like many of us, our goal is to decouple growth from virgin resources while becoming climate positive by 2030. And this requires a massive amount of continued investment and innovation. You have to run this parallel. You can't disconnect each other. And here we see a lot of challenges and also the equal amount of opportunities. The key to create such solution and offers to make our customer life easier. You can't go for complicated communications or complicated activities here. We need to make better choices to become more convenient and more attractive. And we need to do a lot of trials and errors to learn what works in market. If I just give you examples here, talking about rental models, it has a lot of positive impact and actually can make the life easier for our customers, but not maybe applicable for all product categories. So we have to find something else. Talking about resale, has fairly clear prospects and is something we are now scaling further with our Selfie brand, with other partners, but also it needs some time to get matured and to be scaled up. So here we need to be really quite innovative and bold to get out a little bit margin questions for time being, to get bigger success for long term, and take this is also a great investment to do better for world and our brands. So it's a combination of challenges and opportunities where I see here. Bigger opportunity still a lot of unknown first will lead this industry. We are quite voting ourselves for this.
I think we lost you for a little bit, and I think everyone came back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Where did you lose me?
Can you repeat just the last part? You're bringing us home with your point.
What I was saying is a little bit, I mean, you need to run the innovation and investment in parallel.
Yeah.
You can't just run remodels and wait something else happen with the resource management. So I think the biggest opportunity for companies to put integrated roadmaps on this to make sure that even though it costs a bit now, it will bring successful business case in long run. So challenge for now is a huge opportunity for future.
All right, Peter, challenges.
I have to say, Leyla, possibilities, right? Even though that, because I think it's going to drive us innovative thinking. I would say that, again, I come back to that, it's not about compromising on what the customers really want, but it needs to be in that sustainable way. So we talk a lot about how we pay it forward in innovation, meaning how dare you to invest and be bold in that. I think it's just a matter of dare to do that and have that leadership and engagement. That's one aspect of it. Scalability is important, that is scale over time. And then that's a cross-sector thing. I think that's happening. I think if I take the COVID crisis, connected sustainability forced us in a good way to much more cooperate and co-create across retail sector in our case. We are much more engaged with governments, because the governments need, of course, to support investments. So we are, in our case, more accessible, easier to, I think also no misunderstandings where you're going, because I think the leadership is crucial also for governments, infrastructure to become more accessible. So a number of things, right?
We do have another audience question. Why don't you go ahead and I'll ask the rest for their challenges and opportunities later.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Charlotte. I'm from Global Action Plan. We're an environmental charity. My question was to Leyla and Peter. I think obviously we need to be realistic. The circular economy is hugely exciting, but obviously we're a long way off making that at the scale we need. So really to obviously sort of tackle or bring about green consumerism, we obviously need to make sure that the traditional consumer sort of pressures and models are falling away quickly. So my question is, are you working with your advertising agencies to sort of change the messaging that you're pushing out to customers currently about consumption models? What are you doing to work with creative agencies to change up what's being pushed out to the customer?
Leyla, can I give that one to you?
Definitely. Everything I have been talking, also our activities towards customer-facing communication. I think the step number one is to create this awareness where we create an positive impact. And that, I think IKEA mentioned as the same. I'm losing it a bit in the middle, but we are doing a lot of information sharing towards our customers related to their choices. And also talking quite about our initiatives when it comes to anything from resource management to climate positive and how they can contribute on that. That's why also we are bringing a lot of initiatives when it comes to remodels to make sure that we are having a parallel offer that's showing circular fashion going to be our long-term ambition. So making sure that we are bringing both in place and making sure that we are I will be humble to say not educating, but inform our customers to do right choices.
Peter, do you want a quick comment on that?
A quick comment is that if you look on all our last brand campaigns over the last year and a half, 2 years, has been about environment, actually, sustainability messages. We have been, as we take responsibility as a brand. Then I think if you can come back to this, if you meet us and how we meet the customer, it's a very clear red thread about our green consumption and sustainable life at home. And I think that's where it starts. This everyday thing, how you can make a difference. And I think we take actually responsibility there, right? It's going to be a journey, but we are really prioritizing the messaging itself.
Excellent. We do have 2 more audience questions. Let's go ahead with the one looking at you over there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Robert Watt. I'm from SEI, Stockholm Environment Institute. I'd like to pick up on Peter's point about leadership from governments and ask the panel which policies would accelerate circular business models?
Interesting. Artur, do you want to sort of comment on, we spoke about the deposit return scheme, for instance, and producer responsibility.
I mean, on that one specifically, carton is being left out today by the local authorities, so we are really doing some lobbying advocacy to try to introduce this. They're the main aspect on DRS, because EPR, extended producer responsibilities, will make mandatory the curbside collection. So that's great to increase recycling rates. But when we look at the quality of what's being recycled and reaches the recycling deposit, it's not so good. So what we need to do is DRS, deposit return scheme, and this one really, you pay a fee for the bottle when you receive it, and then you give it back, you get the money back. And by that, you really recycling specifically a PET bottle or a carton or a can, and that improves the quality of what's being recycled, and therefore it's easier to drive investment from the recycling producers because they have better productivity in what they recycle. So then at the end you have the recycling result, man? So it's not how much you take on the curbside, not just how much you can recycle, but also how much you actually deliver on pellets or whatever. No? So that needs to be 100%, I mean 100% is impossible, but at least try to reach it. No?
Right, so essentially sort of policy has to work to create that infrastructure for this recycling to happen. Excellent. We are running out of time, and I know we have one more audience question, and we do need to sort of conclude on the challenges and opportunities also for Spotify and Tetrapak. But go ahead. Did you lose the microphone? Okay. Oh, yeah, but I think this lady in the front was first. Order, right? You need a mallet, I think.
I think we're the lady here in front of us.
I'm Annalisa Muxini from White Architecture, and everyone's kind of described very innovative initiatives about kind of green transitions in the product. But building on the question that I think it was Charlotte that asked before about consumer behavior, I feel like this is all still based on this kind of paradigm of GDP and endless growth. And actually, how can you build a business model that is asking people to consume less? And what is durability in kind of lifestyle, which is actually not that we're going to keep consuming greener products, but we're just going to consume less. And how can we kind of have a business model based around that?
That's a big question. Oh my. Peter, do you want to comment?
Of course, a very good question and sharp question, right? And thanks for that. But I would like to say, I think it's of course an extremely relevant question. And I would say our job is to make this into a neutral kind of storytelling that we are able to take back, so it doesn't become a contradiction in a way of I consume and therefore it's damaging the environment. It is very much about the recycling. It is about our take back and how we can do so we can have a consumerism going on that doesn't have a negative impact. That is our job to do, and that's where we need to be innovative. I don't believe in stopping consumerism, consumption. I believe we need to make it more sustainable. That is where we want to spend our time. And that means that we recycle, again, material in, material out, so we're not having a negative impact. I think that's where the way I see it important for us in the IKEA case and many other cases.
Hanna, you waved.
Yeah, I heard storytelling, so I have to jump in. But basically what I think is important there as well is also that people need to understand the choices they have, because currently I don't think people always understand what their impact are and what are the different choices they can have. So that's also what we want to do as well, really inform people more. And also I think the tricky part is, as you said, the ones that are already interested in sustainability and want to make better choices, they often can find the information. But you want to reach those people that maybe don't know much about it or don't seek it actively. So integrating sustainability in other messages and so on. That's what we're looking at as well, just as more cross-functional and cross-topic questions as well. So that it reaches more people in terms of that information.
If I might add one more sentence into that, it starts with, again, transparency discussions, right, that I've been touching base from our side. The more you inform your customers about the impact, the more trust and known decisions you will create there. So truly echoing what Peter say here, very much about, of course, finding new ways, but also making sure that we are transparent towards our customers. When you buy a product, then you know your impact on climate, you know your impact on societies and textile workers. So you really choose the ones also which gives you red thread on your consumption. So there where I see key for success as well.
Do we have any further questions from the audience? Oh, one more. Go ahead.
Thank you. Alexandra Martinez from Clotavard. The last question I have is that if we follow up from Annalise's question, I mean, this is going to have fundamental changes in the value on how we're going to evaluate your stocks. So therefore, how do you anticipate that to your shareholders? Because on the one hand, if I come from an investment background, and if I build a portfolio for my pension fund, and some of my blue chips are if consumerism, or if the behavior, or if the rhetoric, or if the message is about consuming less, how are you predicting and changing your business models to, in effect, to prepare for that? Is that something you're talking on board levels right now? I mean, what is the discussion around this?
There is...
You looked at me, I don't know who looked at.
Just a very brief answer, because we sort of...
I understood the question. If you're talking about that, the change of behavior we discuss at the board level in order to, to be invested in blue chip, whatever.
Basically, what he's saying, consumers, if we're being trained or a message that your product needs to last longer, so therefore we're going to consume less.
Yes.
That therefore you're either going to, and it is affordable.
Now I get you.
Etc. How is that going to change in the future, the valuation of your company?
I think in our case, it's going to enhance in the way we are looking. The more sustainable we are, the more we will enhance. Because by the end of the day, we need to find a solution to provide home furnishing in our case that is having not a negative impact on the environment. I think it is that simple and difficult in a way. And that, because I do think people will need furniture in the long run. They need quality furniture over time. Some of us can't... Affordability is important. Not everyone can spend a lot of money, so we need to find affordable solutions also for that. I think you need to remember that it's a big population of consumers that might not have enough furniture today even, right? So I think we have to cater for that. But by the end of the day, it goes back to we have to have responsibility throughout the value chain and not have a negative impact. Therefore, our business model should be adaptable to that. And it's the only answer I think. It's the right answer, I think, but it's the way we work with it. It's a topic.
I think that the two of you will have a very interesting discussion at lunch. Just saying.
Maybe I can join.
Are we allowed one very, very short, because I did ignore you, I'm so sorry. We are just now improvising. You will get the last question, and the rest of the sort of challenges and opportunities will have to be a lunch topic. But thank you for all this engagement. Obviously, that's exactly what we want today.
Yeah, my name is Prem. My question was actually asked by the lady there.
Okay.
I am going to further stress on the point on why are businesses not looking at reduction in consumerism rather than jumping on to the reuse and recycle, because that's easy to talk and there's innovation and stuff like that. Why did we forget reduction? What are we doing to make it less convenient, less choice? My question to Leyla would be, will I see 2022 from H&M where you won't have a spring collection, won't have an autumn collection, won't have a winter collection. You have one collection, buy it or don't buy it. Which business will have the guts to come out and say this? Can I have a question to Peter to say that, will IKEA come back and say that we will have a repair crew and you keep the furniture until 5 years or 7 years and we will repair it for you? Which business has the guts and the gumption to say this? Can we reduce consumerism in the first place and then look at, of course, in parallel, look at the value chain and do a lot. And it also ties up with the second question that she asked about how does it gel with your shareholders? Yeah, so it's the same question. I'm not expecting any answers. Because I heard you.
Oh, so this is not a question? No? Okay. I think that this is a very big discussion. I also have to say, I don't think that maybe the people on stage have that answer today. Please do pick that up at another point in time, but thank you for that. Yeah, not a question. Thank you for that. So this is all the time we have. Thank you so much to the audience, to the panel, for all of the content. I was going to do a summary. I don't think we have time for that. But just give them a round of applause and let's continue the discussion at lunch.